The answer is certainly, yes. Not just into future life but more specifically into a different level of spiritual dimension realm where the energy frequency vibrates that belong at the moment of physical death. To understand better, before getting into the spiritual aspect, let us briefly touch on the human aspect we are familiar with. We received our first external breath, called birth. Make effort to know the significance of this birth. Be curious. Our tiny little, delicate infant physical body is embodied within a soul consciousness. As we progress our physical body development towards teen, adulthood, and old age before death, we may not realize to have a clear understanding mental aspect of the existence of this sacred soul consciousness. They are cosmically designed to have a unique soul mission and purpose, through our physical body called you and me. As we progress experiencing our human life journey on Earth, we have also not realized the Earth is polarized, meaning it is designed to have two extreme pillars of polar opposites, constantly inflicting our human emotional experiencing, be it pleasure or pain. This is likened to a pendulum effect, oscillating from one end of the extreme right to the other end of the extreme left, and vice versa, non-stop. Emotionally, we haven't learned how to stop that pendulum effect, thus we continue unconsciously living an imbalanced, physical life in pain, suffering, and misery before taking our last external breath called death. What happened to our embodied soul consciousness? We have forgotten its existence within us, not growing, expanding its consciousness to achieve its mission and purpose. In other words, our physical life on Earth has gone to waste, not progressing spiritually. Therefore, our energy vibration frequency remains low unless otherwise awakened to consciously soul realized. Once we are awakened, realizing there is more to physical, outer materialistic life. Through the process of experiencing extreme emotional pain and suffering, we begin to turn inwards within to reach out to our self-soul. Our spiritual progress begins here, slowly and slowly, our soul consciousness starts to nurture and grow into nurturing its sprouted roots, growing its stem and trunk and branches, ultimately with bearing leaves and fruits, and start to emit fragrances as scent identification of who we truly are. Spiritually, we are peace, calm, centeredness, harmonious and emotionally balanced at pendulum rest, 0. We can now live in the world, but not of the world. Nothing outside materially can distract us. Our spiritual progress has reached its intended soul purpose and mission. Call it, 1,000 petals golden lotus. With a potential 144,000 light frequencies illumination that we may bring forth into our future life upon reaching the last external breath, called death. Yes. Everything we do created imprints with us, whether it is an action, spoken words, thoughts or emotions. These imprints are also called our karmas. We are those imprints and those karmas. They have been created within us by us, and they determine what we are attracted to and what we attract to us. In Buddhism, at death you leave your identity behind, but the karma's imprints remain and move on to the next life, where you then create a new identity, but retain the habits and inclinations from your previous life. These inner imprints make us how we are, and this in turn draws similar people, circumstances to us. Each imprint will, at some time, be triggered by the causes and conditions around you, it ripens, and that is when it attracts something similar to you. And this includes what you are attracted to. So the situation of your next life is highly dependent on what you do and how you are now. Although a particularly strong emotion at the moment of death, such as fury, can override other imprints in determining the condition and realm for your next life. At least, that is what the Buddhist lamas teach. And yes, if you have created the habits of working towards spiritual growth, those habits remain within you, and will draw you to be reborn into a situation where you will once again be exposed to the spiritual path you previously worked on. You may not remember it, but the inclinations are there. Unfortunately, unless you continue to nurture them in the next life, or in this life, they become gradually replaced by materialistic imprints karmas and you can lose some of what you gained in a previous life. According to the Hindus, nothing material will remain when you are reborn. Everything but your soul is expunged. Why? Because although there is one God with many parts winking face. Unlike him, who is infinite, we are finite, we end. This constant cycle of birth and death is enacted to lead us to infinity, so we can eventually join him. For this we must evolve at the spiritual level. We get one life, again and again, and we must evolve and rise to join this one true God, Hindus call him Brahman, in that one life. Or we start all over again. The spirit has no memory. Memory is a material thing. Material is not akin to infinitude. The only thing close to a memory that remains with us are our sanskar, our spiritual tattoos, which we take with us as we journey. Anything high in energetic magnitude like a murder, or a great sacrifice for good can become a sanskar. We are doomed to carry these until we can purge them with our evolution. Unfortunately, you won't remember how to go deep in meditation in 5 minutes rather than 2 hours, which may be how long it took when you first started meditating. I am afraid when you are reborn all your practice is reset. But if you reached a point of high enough magnitude, you will carry it forever. But to make a sanskar takes a highly evolved soul or devolved soul. For example, if one is a rapist, or mass murderer, or if one feeds the homeless for one's whole life or gives one's life to charity, any of these things may cause a sanskar which will affect the next life. A spirit's intention would be to carry the progress of each lifetime forward, but much depends on the human factors involved. As much as a spirit has learned, and as much as they were able to influence one human self to reflect it, the circumstances surrounding their next lifetime might be such that they cannot exert the same influence. Ideally, over the course of many lifetimes, a spirit's progress will be carried forward and it will be increasingly visible in their human self as they become more skilled at choosing the best lifetime for the lessons they need and then guiding them from an early age. However, even an advanced spirit might be frustrated in their attempts to guide a lifetime as the combined effects of genetics, early childhood, and the surrounding environment can outweigh their influence. My sources are 2 spirits who spoke to me through another person, not channeled. To learn about my experience with them, see my profile link to the Invisible Choir. I saw my dad in my dream a few days ago. We were in a building with guards and some kind of doctors. At first people were staring at me and acting kind of normal, but I felt like they knew something they weren't telling me. I kept trying to talk to my dad, but he couldn't really speak. He was too weak to walk and talk, and he looked real skinny. Later I'm looking for him and he's in another room behind glass. They had him in some machine torturing him and he couldn't even cry or scream. I got pissed off and made them stop and confronted this giant guy that was in charge. That's when I realized it was a prison, and then I remembered my dad was dead and I knew I was dreaming and my dad was being tortured in hell. I woke up before I could take him out of there. But it wasn't a dream. It was a test. God wanted to see how I would react. I don't have nightmares even when my dream is watching my dad getting tortured in hell. Matter of fact, I'm going back to get him. They couldn't touch me. They were just glad I had no idea what was going on. But I want to get a chance to take my dad out of there ASAP. How many people end up a prisoner in a jail in hell and can't do anything but hope someone has a dream about them?